Hello, hello. Yay, we are live. We are live. Thank you. Okay, fingers crossed that this has gone out on Facebook and YouTube. So, welcome to an episode of Equine Voices. My name's Ronnie. I'm your host. And my special guest today is Monica Clark, who is a beautiful, delightful lady that I met in October last year when I was very lucky enough to do a course with Tom Mayes. Who I was very, very pleased to meet after corresponding. And he didn't disappoint, and neither did his beautiful, lovely wife, Yolanda. Both amazing people in their own right, but dynamics when they get together is amazing. Anyway, so before I invite Monica in, you'll have to excuse me, but I am a little bit nervous. It's the first time in this year. And I'm at my friend's house, and they've let me do the podcast here, which is amazing. And I'm so grateful. So, yeah, I'm not going to talk about Monica because she can obviously talk about herself a lot more than I can, and she knows who she is. So I will bring her in. She'll give a brief description, and then we'll go from there. If you do want to ask any questions, please feel free to just ask a question. And I might wait a little while before we get through the conversation, and then we'll go straight into that. So let's see where this conversation is going to take us. Okay. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay. Hi, Monica. Welcome to Equine Voices podcast.
Hi, Ronnie. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I think we're both like giddy schoolgirls. Here I am in Northern California foothills, Sierra foothills in United States, and we communicate, through voice memo and such. And a lot of times it's you giving me a message, a download when you're driving, hungry, and so I just feel like I just feel so delighted to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm just looking to see if it has gone out on Facebook. So just bear with me 1 second. Feel free to look on yours if you want to. Just trying to see if I can get it onto my page. I can't always see on here. Let's have a look.
Yep, we're on.
You're on. Brilliant. Okay, so I'll go back
to my page.
Yeah, yay. Brilliant.
Here we go. Okay.
Great. Okay, let's go. So, obviously, I just said that I met you on Tom Mayes' Cranial Sacral course in October, and you was one of the assistants that helped all the students. And obviously, Tom and Yolanda organised the course, help with horses and everything. And you were so friendly and so warm, and you fed us, and that was the best thing. One of the best things, because I'm a food person, and there'd be bagels and cream cheese, strawberry cream cheese, which I was telling people about, lovely tea. But yeah, you were so welcoming, as everybody was. I mean, it was an amazing course, and it was lovely people. And like I said, it was great to meet Tom and Yolanda and to experience their dynamics and how they work. So, without further ado, would you like to, first of all, explain what it is you do? So talk about this sim and all the other aspects that you do, and then we'll go back a little bit and see how you got into horses, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. What I do, I'm going to be 62 in a couple weeks, and I've done so many different things in my life. And this is what I am doing now is the last third of my life. And it is visiting a passion that I've had since I was young. So, when I moved back to Placerville, California in July of 22, after a little bit of exploring and being in the Santa Cruz Mountains and being without horses in my life for about 10 years, I was immediately pulled back into horses. And one of the ways that happened is I had to go back to work full time. And I met a woman named Chrissy Roderman. I was working for a dementia connection in a hospice, in Snowline Hospice up here. And Chrissy found out that I loved horses and invited me to come out and ride with her. She had an extra horse, and horse's name was Lion. She'd since passed, but I want to pay homage to that beautiful horse. So I rode with her, and then I decided that I wanted to lease, that I really wanted to get into leasing horses. But what happened in a very short period of time is that Chrissy told me about Tom Mayes. And then I was introduced to a horse that I could lease. And that the owner of that horse told me about Tom Mayes. And then I listened to his podcast and I immediately thought, I have to learn this. I have to learn this. I want to learn this. What is he talking about? The communication with the horses. And I was really pulled into, when I listened to his podcast with Warwick, really pulled into his ability to tap into and really channel the messages from the horses about the humans. That is really what grabbed me. And so I dove right in. I signed up for a class and I started taking his classes. I think my first class was in October of 24, and it was cranial sacral. And we talked a lot in that class about organs. I thought, I'm just a barefoot, bareback rider. You know, I gentled a wild Mustang with a videotape, and I don't know where all these organs are. So it was a crash course in equine anatomy. And then I went to the foundations, but I was hooked. And I thought, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to help these horses heal. And so I've taken all of Tom's classes in a little over a year and a half through Osteo 4. And they invited me to be one of their associates and help gather horses for the clinics, care for the horses, receive them, and then also, support and help Yolanda get the food and put the food out. So what that has transpired into for me in a very short period of time is, and it literally, I just came off a 3-day clinic with 3 other equine facilitators. It was a very intimate clinic, and I was working with the horses. So what I do, oh boy, it's hard for me to say because it's evolving so quickly right now, and it's really evolving at the direction and the guidance of the horses. The horses are showing me where I'm supposed to go with what I have learned in my own life experience, what I've learned from Tom and continue to learn from Tom and Yolanda, other certifications that I have, modalities that I use in my life. And so what I'm doing now is seeing horses. So my business, Harmony Integrated Equine Therapies, and don't go to my website because all it is a website. I haven't done anything with it because I've been so busy with all these other things. And so it just is a kind of a name. And I will get to that this month. It is on my agenda. So someone will call me out, and I'm thinking about the first client that called me out. And you just go like this if I'm talking too long. The first client that called me out saw something that I posted on Facebook, and she said that my horse's nervous system is completely dysregulated, and my horse is having all of these issues at the barn. So I specialize in nervous system regulation, not only for the horse, but for the human, because that has been a very big journey, especially in the last 12 years for me, where I lived as a highly sensitive person, very dysregulated for most of my life. And so I went out to see this horse, and I immediately felt the frequency and the vibration of this desolate little barn area that it was in. And the owner described to me what was happening for the horse with the separation anxiety. And then I read the owner's energy, and I could tell that her vibrational, her nervous system, her frequency was very rattly. And And so I spent time there with the horse. So the purpose of the visit was cranial sacral. At that time, I hadn't taken Tom's Osteo 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so I had cranial sacral and acupressure under my belt. So that's what I went out there for. But then the horse started talking to me, and I knew immediately that there was no way, and I could see the interaction between the horse and the human. And I knew that there was just no way that I was, even if I could regulate that horse. Now he's meeting me first off. He doesn't know me. He's never met me. And here's this woman with her hands on his pole and saying, trust me, you know, you can regulate. He was able to come down, and the owner told me that she saw things in him in the first half hour that she's never seen him do as far as regulation. But what really happened in that visit was me being able to chat with the human about where her regulation was at. And I could come out, I could continue to come out and work with this horse to help him regulate. But I knew right away he was in a dysregulated environment. When I heard what was going on with the trainer at this one location, I knew that was contributing. And then the owner was taking, as a sensitive herself, she was taking all this on. And so what ended up being directed by the horse, I left there. So this is one of my first clients. And I'm thinking, I need to go out there and stay in my Tom Mayes protocol. You know, I need to do this cranial sacral. I need to assess. I need to do still point. I need to do all that I'm taught in order to support the horse. But this very first session, this organic stuff happened. And as I left there, the horse told me that he needed to leave. That his whole issue was that he was in this paddock by himself. He was out kind of in this desolate place, and that he didn't know what it felt like to be in a herd of horses, and that he wanted to go be in a herd of horses in a pasture to be able to be a horse, and that was going to help him. So there's this place where, as you know, when we get these channelings or these downloads or these messages, that we trust. And so I shared that with his owner, and she was able to say, oh my gosh, you're right. The whole problem is my nervous system's a mess because of where I'm at. You're right. I've been avoiding this. I've been gripping. I've been white knuckling. So I helped her find a place for her horse, and she moved her horse. And then I went out and saw the horse about 4 times after she moved the horse, helping her navigate some stuff, helping her with her nervous system, showing her how to sense in with the horse. Mind you, I did very little IET protocol on this horse, this very first client. They are now trail riding out at Folsom Lake. They have this amazing relationship. He's in a pasture with other geldings. His whole affect and nervous system shifted. And he's this beautiful, happy horse, and she's a beautiful, happy human. So am I going out there once a month to, you know, move blood around and play with nerves? No, because what needed to happen and what I needed to facilitate for those two beings on the planet in a relationship happened. And I'm here if they need to call me back. So there's that piece that just was organically guided. And then I will get a phone call where someone says, I can't get my horse to pick up this lead, or my horse is off and can't, pass through with his back left when we're in a canter to the left. Something's going on the haunches. And then I will go out and I will assess the horse from an intuitive. So it's passive, it's active, it's palpation, all that Tom teaches us in his classes. And then I'm just sensing what's going on with this nerve. Is the blood stuck? Do we have cranial sacral rhythm? So sometimes I go out, more often than not, and it is a body work session with the horse where I'm communicating with the horse. And I also find that the way that the universe is lining me up is that there's the paired coaching aspect, because in all honesty, the horses are mirroring so often what they're taking on from their humans, or just how they're compensating, or how they feel like they need to show up, whether they're a barrel racer. I haven't done barrel racers, but whether they're a barrel racer or a hunter jumper, or they're just a casual, I shouldn't say just, or they're a casual trail horse, there's some level of compensation that's going on. And so they're mirroring. So I do feel like it is so very important for the human to be part of the session, especially when the horse is talking about that. So I don't know if I answered all that correctly.
I think you did beautifully, Monica. Yeah, absolutely. And I hear what you say. So you went out initially to what you thought was going to be like a body work, and your intuition, your guidance kicked in, and you just went with what the horse presented and said to you, which is, I know that's something on the course. Tom says you will all go away to everybody, and you will make this your own because you will adapt it to what you need. But in the classroom environment, it's like it's similar for a lot of modalities. They teach you in a certain way, but that's just a tool. It's up to you to adapt it. And certain ones have protocol, and some are more protocol written than others. But yeah, that's what I loved about Tom's. I think that he showed how it worked for him. And then, but you go away and you'll make it your own, which, yeah, I really like that about that course. So my work has sort of gone in. So I've always thought that it's us. So we don't cause everything. Okay. Horses have their own journey, but we are pretty much 90% of the situation where we find our horses, my own included. And when it's your horse, you've always got the emotional attachments, and it's really hard to work on your own and to be detached, because even if you think you are, you're connected by invisible energy, by you are connected. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. And I know this horses are all different. They will help ground their owners. If the owners cannot ground for whatever reason, they will use their physical body and their energy to help with that situation. Even the best well-rounded person that doesn't seem to have anything going on in their life, they might not be grounded. They might have things that they're not even aware of. The horses sense that. So that's a big part of my learning and my understanding. And even deeper than that, it goes far beyond than I can explain. So the mirror analogy that you've said is perfect, but it goes far beyond that. And if we haven't learned things, it sounds like, oh, they're here to teach you a lesson. They're here for their own life. But if we don't learn through that, we'll get that presented to us again. I've had clients that have had multiple horses, and you go back and they have the same scenario, maybe slightly different view, but it's the same thing. And I'll say, well, doesn't that say something to you? You know, what do you think that is? Well, you know, because when you go see somebody, you want to empower them to come to that conclusion themselves. You don't want to make anybody small. It's not about belittling anybody or making them feel stupid. It's about them seeing what you can see sometimes that they probably know, but they've not really acknowledged it, or they're not aware of it to that degree. And sometimes it's really simple. And if you sort of point it out and say, well, what do you think? Well, this has been going on, or, well, and they sort of paint a picture, they start to tell a story. And sometimes they come to the conclusion, do you think it could be this? You go, well, ask your horse. And the horses go, they breathe or they relax. Because as I'm doing the communication, the horses is always giving visuals to what's going on. They're picking up on the energy, and that can be through the internet. It doesn't have to be with the horse. It can be where the owners are with the horse. They can see them, and we're having a conversation, and they'll say, "Oh, they've just gone to lie down," or they've just gone to eat, or and up to them there was nudging them. There was anxious, a bit irritable, and I go, "Yeah, because we've said what we need to say," and it's almost like, okay, I can go do my thing now. And it's always evolving. It never stays the same. So yeah, it never stays the same. And the more you think you know, the less you know.
This is so true. And it's, this weekend we had a 2.5-day clinic where there were 4 stations. There was an in hand, let's see what's going on energetically. One practitioner had a horse on the end of the lead line or loose. At the other end of the arena, there was in saddle work. And this is all coherent work, being conscious, being aware, being in the breath. There's no, how do I want to say this? It wasn't about any sort of a discipline, nothing. I mean, we literally had a person leading the owner on their horse with their eyes closed, breathing and feeling their body and feeling the connection. And then we had a human cranial sacral worker there, and then I was with the horses. And so, it's super wild for me to witness my process in this journey. My ego typically has an inferiority complex where it thinks it must try to do X, Y, and Z perfectly in order to be worthy. And it's a nasty little bugger. It's a nasty little bugger. And so I am a recovering perfectionist in that regard. And so I go into this as the equine. They're going to receive my modality of body work. And I go into it in the first day. So it really is about nervous system regulation. And most of the owners, it was a very intimate clinic. We limited it to 6. And it was fabulous. And most of the owners had where they wanted to be more connected, or their horse just felt dysregulated or disconnected in one way or another. So it was very interesting. The first day I had an agenda. Okay, I'm going to go in and check them and assess them and kind of do some cranial. They were only 40-minute sessions where I can be out at a session for a good hour and a half. So I knew that I wasn't going to be blowing out energy cysts or anything like that. I was going to, which we do in cranial sacral, we move energy cysts. I knew I was going to be focused on nervous system regulation, listening to the horse. So the first day, the horses were pretty dysregulated. And this one horse basically did not, I was working on her pull, her OA joint up there, her occipital, her atlas, and I was working on getting that to release. And she had an issue. Her issue was that even though she would just walk pushing on the bit. So she didn't run away with the bit in her mouth, but she'd never soften to it and come down. She was always braced on the bit. So that was a big thing that the owner wanted to work on. And the horse really told me that the horse told me that if she came into the place where her owner wanted her to be, that the owner would no longer be seeking out clinics that would help the owner on her own personal path. So when we talk about the horses aren't just necessarily mirroring, and they're not just a mirror of their humans, they come in on their own journey, right? And so what came up for me with this one horse is that the soul contract of this horse is at this point in time in this woman's life, and the horse is older, she's, you know, a couple decades old, that this horse, it might be part of her soul contract. Oh, and she had some stuff in her lung. She was carrying some stuff in her lung and emotion that part of her soul contract could potentially be that she's not going to let this stuff go. Because if she becomes that horse that no longer takes her owner to a clinic to try and figure things out, because her owner is choosing clinics that aren't just about discipline, you know, kick your horse, pull your horse. Her owner is choosing coherence and regulation and connection and love and compassion and partnership. That's what the owner is choosing to, as a path to connect with her horse. So if the horse just heals all that in herself, then the owner would no longer be induced potentially to choose that path. Where I know that at this clinic that we just came from, there were awakenings for the participants that they were personal awakenings. Well, beyond how do I feel the energy center in the ball of my feet? They were personal awakenings. And so the way that the horses started communicating on the third day, my first horse showed me its unicorn horn. This horse stepped into its session from the first 10 seconds. The owners were sitting in a chair and we were dialoguing, and it focused on its owner. And it immediately, this is a beautiful horse. And he immediately, just this ascended divine being, like from an astral being, just the energy and the presence of this younger horse. And he sunk in, and I said, what do you want to show me? What do you want to tell me? He walked me through a guided body meditation for his owner. And he basically told me that what's happening is the owner's balance and seat. The owner confirmed that is what's happening. He had bolted and she had fallen off. The owner confirmed that that's what was happening. And the horse walked me through a guided meditation as the owner sat there for her hips and her tailbone and her breath. And it literally, I didn't really do any body work on this horse. I did go back to his sacrum at the end and did some balancing there, but that was it. It was guiding the human, and it was a super, super powerful experience for both of them. The horse stayed pinpointed in on the owner as we walked through this experience.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it makes total sense to me, because if we help an equine, a horse, and we don't help the human element see aspects of their self, then that can often reappear again. As I said earlier, you can have people that do competitions and want to do a certain thing, and they'll get a horse and they're fine, and then after a while something happen, and they can have vets out, they can have lots of different people out, but there'll be something else that happens, and then they'll get another horse, or they'll sell that, or if they're lucky enough to keep that horse, they'll get another horse and put that one to a side, and a similar thing happens. And to me, it's always saying, what is going on with you? And I remember doing a session with a young girl. She was lovely, and she was a really nice young girl. I think she was probably 13, 14. And I always say she had a Ferrari when she could have done with a Mini. She had a very powerful horse, and her family was very, very kind. They wanted to do well, and they bought this amazing horse. And we had this long session. And then she said to me, I explained how the horse was feeling, and without sort of giving personal stuff away, I explained that sometimes this didn't happen because of where you was, and it wasn't sure you were ready. And she was going, yeah. And then she said to me, but why won't he jump higher? I get him to jump, he jumps that. I put the jump up, and he won't do that one. Why won't he keep going? But there was a bit more to it than that. And I thought, have you not just heard what I've said? But I had to remember that she was a young girl, and her mum was there, and there was this rosette. That was the goal, the rosette. And I said, your horse will jump far more and far bigger than your horse is jumping now. But because it knows that when it jumps the next jump, you want the next level, and then the next level, and then the next level. It's not ever going to end. So this horse feels this from you. So it's decided not to go any further. And until you recognize that, until you give this horse space or time, or just let go of something, because this chasing this rosette, it wasn't about the rosette, it was something to do with her. But it was like being worthy, being proven, being proof. And the parents had invested a lot of money into this as well. So there was lots of different things that was coming into this. And it's not like anybody's bad, or it's not reflecting on anybody in that way, but it is adding to the outcome of what is achievable. And sometimes if you can say, okay, I won't do that anymore. That's fine. Let's just go out for a trail ride, or a hack, as we call it in the UK. If you say that, but deep down you really want that trophy, your horse knows that, and it will not change. But if you really decide, do you know what? This is more important, and your heart lets that go, they know the difference. And that's when changes can happen. They can change like with a flip of a coin. So what wasn't available one moment can be available afterwards, if it's authentic and genuine. And that's something that has to come from the person. They have to, because you can say, I do want that, but deep down they don't, because they need this trophy for another reason, nothing to do with the trophy. It's something else that's from their past. Yes. That they want to prove themselves. So that's just one little description. Actually, okay. So as you were talking earlier about your session, Jazz came in, as you were talking about the lady, your client, and you were saying that if the horse had gone on the bit, then she would no longer search for these clinics. And these clinics are the very thing that's giving her what she needs. So the horse is presenting something that she can be there, because she wouldn't go there for her own benefit, but she'll go there to help her horse. As you said that, Jazz says, why do you think I'm in your life?
Right. And it's Jazzy. So just so that the people listening know, Jazzy is my horse. And Jazzy was the second horse that I was invited to lease. And after the first year, she became my horse, and where she became mine. So she's now, and I talked with Ronnie, remember, like Jazzy didn't want to be owned by anyone. We did an animal communication session, and I wasn't sure if it was the right thing. And she didn't want to be owned by anyone. She's a very sovereign 17-year-old Kiger Mustang mare. And it's very interesting that she came into our visit here today, because I moved her from where she had been for 7 years. She had lived there with her prior owner, who passed away from cancer, and then was just moved 3 properties down the road and spent 2.5 years there with Terry and Scout. And she's about 7.5 minutes from my house now. She's on a dry lot with a little bit bigger herd. She has equine metabolic syndrome, which I've had to learn about, and it's in remission, and it's helping me help other horses who have metabolic disorder, which is really cool. But our relationship for the last month has been, it's been different, and she's settling into her herd. But Jazzy and I used to move around together with an almost like an energetic meditation, with this deep kind of reverence and love for each other, just both very regulated in everything that we did. And both of us became very dysregulated with the move. And I have been in reflection on how, you know, I can coach people on how to support, to be regulated enough to support their human as a lead, or their horse as a leader, when their horse is dysregulated. But I got dysregulated. You know, she was in a new place. She was kind of stepping on me, and she's kind of a bulldozer anyway, and just moving her body unconsciously into me, got taken off of her pasture, and really, really just focused on any kind of food on the ground as a distraction. So it's interesting going back to the question, why do I think she's in my life? And I know I love her, and she is, my intention is that she will be in my life until she passes. And then if I pass, she will go back over to Terry. I don't really know why she's in my life right now, other than this is really wild. Like I could go back to the story of the Mustang I gentled 23 years ago, and I know exactly why the universe and the guides took me up to Susanville that Wednesday morning and sat with the wranglers, and my children were in school, my husband was at work. I took to my trailer and drove 3 hours up to Susanville to the Litchfield facility. I had an appointment, and I came home with a 16-month-old gelding, and I put him in a round pen in the back of on the property, and I studied all my stuff, and I went and did it. And I know why he was in my life. He was in my life at that point in time as an absolute anchor for a very challenging situation I was in with my youngest child, who was foster adopted. And she had a severe attachment disorder due to what she went through for 4.5 years until she came to live with us. And it was so challenging, and I felt so worthless, and it was so hard, and I was so broken from the whole experience that the only solace and anchoring I could find was when I would be with the Mustang. So here's this little Mustang that's come from the wild into all the human realm. And then I bring him home, and I'm sitting down there with his big head in my lap, sobbing, and he's holding space for me. So it was the only anchor I had to the deepest unconditional love I've ever felt. Reciprocal. It was reciprocal love. All the love I was giving. I have 3 biological boys. So with my daughter, she wasn't receiving my love. She was not receiving my love. And here's this wild being who is soaking up every bit of love and connection that I'm offering him. And he's offering it right back to me from the first touch. This Mustang never bit. He never kicked. He never bucked. He's 16 hands now, and he's almost 20. I think he's almost 24. He's about an hour from here because I had to part with him when he was about 7. But I've kept in touch with him. But when I go back to why is Jazzy in my life? Okay, so Jazzy is super sovereign. She's super autonomous, and she's just like telling me right now. So I'm going to use. She just doesn't take any shit. She just doesn't. And she knows who she is. So that's the message. Because sometimes sometimes I doubt myself. I can be in my power, I can be in my autonomy and my sovereignty, but I can get knocked off that pretty quickly, especially on the path that I'm on right now. I can doubt myself. I think that right now she's there, and you may get other messages that, but that she's there to say, this is what solid looks like. This is what autonomous looks like. This is what sovereignty looks like. This is what knowing who you are looks and feels like, because that is who this mare is. And she's also affectionate, but not overly affectionate. She stays in her own too. So that's a long answer to that question.
No, there wasn't a right or wrong answer. It was, she just said, it was when you was talking about the horse and the lady, and how the horse was focusing on the lady to get her to just to connect. I can't remember what you said now exactly, but it was then. So it was almost like, hello, why do you think I'm in your life? And that's the very reason to show you who you are. I was going to ask you a question. Now it's gone now. I'm just going to ask. So whoever's watching, if you want to ask Monica or myself a question, please write a comment and we'll put it on screen and we'll try and answer that best so we can. So while that's happening, if anybody does want to ask a question, if you don't, that's absolutely fine. So, okay.
So I'll tell you, Ronnie, I want to share. They're telling me share about this other experience yesterday, which was,
yeah, go ahead.
It feels very, because your podcast is Equine Voices, and I feel like what happened in my experience with the horses yesterday, and getting out of my own way, getting out of my left brain that says, well, wait, you don't have your hands on them, all over them, and you're not fixing, right? You're not fixing. And I know I'm just a conduit. We're all just conduits. And if we get out of our own way. But one of the beautiful things that another horse showed up with is he showed me that he was a warrior in a past life. And he's very compliant, this horse. And I've done a lot of body work on him. So I had to really get out of knowing him and knowing his owner on a more intimate level. When they came to me towards the end of the day for a session, I had to really set all of that aside and be super present for that session. What are we going to talk about right now in this 40 minutes? What needs to be revealed, moved, cleared, whatever. And he showed me that he was a warrior. He was a ridden warrior horse in a past life. And he was carrying this energy in his shoulders. It was very, I'm going to stand here. And one of the things that had come up for him in clinic was you had to get to like a 8 or a 9 of an ask before he was like, okay, I'll comply now, and but then there's this element of compliance that this horse has. He's a safe horse, but he wasn't fully present. And I could feel this as I went over him, there was confusion in his head. So he really drew me into his pineal. So I was working with his ventral vagal. So the ventral vagal has such a divine frequency. It's even though it runs the same as the regular vagus nerve, when you really intentionally, so I'm going to intention right now, when you intentionally come into the ventral vagal, it vibrates with a frequency that is deep. It's a deep soul frequency. It's beautiful. And Tom teaches us this, right? He teaches us about this and to feel it. So I was drawn into this horse's ventral vagal, and he was one of 3 horses that really had me going into the pineal gland and doing a lot of pineal gland activation. So that was very present at this clinic. But then this horse showed me that he was very grounded in his root. So I went back to his sacrum. He's very grounded in his root chakra, like he's anchored into his earth-based experience. However, he's very confused about what his purpose is right now. And he's with a person who's only had him for less than a year, and he doesn't understand what his purpose was. So then it became a session as I'm talking about this with the human, and he needed his human to set her intention with him and to make clear to him what his purpose is with her. And so there was a place where the human needed to step in and get very clear with her intention. And she needed to speak that. So I had her literally anchor her intention. We did a whole little meditation into her own body. And then she went into the horse and she anchored it into his xiphoid process at his CV17, which is right at the end of the sternal knobs. She anchored that intention there. So that is a place she can come back to with intention when she feels disconnected. Okay. So that brings me to the place of intention. And you were talking about the rosette. And I go back into my own journey with my horses. Did I ever set a clear intention? Yes, I love animals. I've loved them my whole life. Horses are my first love. They are, even though I'm a mother, they penetrate this place in my heart that a human can't penetrate. And they just can't, because humans are humans. And just keep on going. Lots resonating. Okay, I see that, Sam. And so the intention, I think back of the horses that I've had, and did I ever sit and get out of my own desire and my own want and my own need long enough? And I wasn't emotionally clear when I was going after my first horses. That intention of, what do I want a horse for? What do I want the relationship to feel like? What feels good to me? What's going to feel good to the horse? Like really manifesting the horse that's meant to be in my life. No, I just drive my trailer up to Susanville and load up a wild Mustang in the back, and thank God the Wranglers helped me pick him, and the universe aligned, and it was meant to be, right? But so when we go buy a horse, what is our intention? Is it our ego? Is it our need for that? You were talking on your podcast with Susan Fay about the cake. How many pieces of cake do we need? You guys talked about cake and just going after cake, and until you finally had enough cake. And so one of the things that we wrapped the clinic up with yesterday was, and I was asked about this because the one client loved that intention setting and anchoring it into the body and then anchoring it into a place of the horse, was, what is our intention? And does our intention include the well-being of these animals that are meant to be out in the wild roaming? So that's a ramble on, but intention, where it's, can we put ourselves aside enough to really listen to what they're saying, to really be present to why they're in our lives? And you've reached out to me on your drives, and Jazzy had given you a message to me, which was, I'm perfect just the way I am. And I really took that to heart, because I was pretty wrapped up in correcting her metabolic syndrome and looking at her every time I went to see her. Are you inflamed? Have you gained weight? Are you sleepy? Are you having a sugar crash? It was a lot of stuff. Yeah, so I'll button it.
No, you're fine, because this is about you chatting. But we're all guilty of doing that. We're all, I do it every day. And the thing is, once you're aware of it, you can sort of just come out of it quickly, but you still do it. You go to your horse, even if you don't look, you're looking for signs of what you saw the day before, and or you're seeing things, or you're hoping something's changed, or I remember a conversation with a horse. Sometimes I get messages from collective, so it's like not just one; it's they just come through. But the majority of the message are, "Don't pity me. Why are you pitying me?" You know, as Jazz says, I'm perfect as I am. When we pity, our energy changes and our frequency changes, and we are emitting that all the time. It's like an invisible pulse that's going. So they feel that. They feel that. Now, there's a difference between you go to your horse and you've got to deal with something. You know, you don't ignore what you don't see, but it's once you've dealt with it, you've almost got to take a step back and come out of that victim, sad, oh my God, woe is me, because that just perpetuates so much more. You've got to deal with it, come back, and then almost go and look at it from an outsider. This is where detaching sometimes, which on odd occasions I've done that, and it's literally a fluke sometimes, but you can do it when it's your own horse. You just come out the detached, and the scenario changes like that. It's very, very quick. Once you see that, you realize how your energy and your own thoughts really paint a picture that's not necessarily the picture that's actually existing. Again, that's a whole nother story. But it doesn't mean to say you don't ignore what you see. And they don't want pity. And they don't. So when we deal with horses with trauma, we've all got trauma. And again, that's a big word. And I'm very conscious when I say that. I'm not belittling anything. But if we come in it with the wrong frequency, we add to that trauma. We're not clearing anything. We're just perpetuating that boiling pot. So you've really got to be aware of where you are within you to witness it, to let it be what it is, and then let whatever needs to happen. We're not taking anything out. We're just facilitating something that wants to be seen, and then go with your intuition. Now, every scenario will be different. So there is not one scenario. They may be similar by looking at them, but they're all different. To me, the feel is really, really important. And I know everybody talks about the feel, and, you know, it's the inward and trainers, but it's going with no high, with no low. It's that middle plateau. It's almost like the calm before the storm. It's that middle place, and that's where the clarity comes from. Once you get into emotion, it's shown you something, but you can dilute it. You can change the story. It's that tiny, tiny window of opportunity that can take you on a whole nother level, a whole nother journey. I do want to talk about the sim, because people in the UK might not know what it is, but you go ahead. What was you going to say, Sweets?
Yes, I want to talk about the sims for sure. And you know, something that came up for me when you were talking about the pity is I have gone through that stage in my life with both humans and animals. The rescuer. I'm going to be the rescuer. I'm going to come and love on you because I see you're broken. And one of the things, so Scout, Terry Kubler's horse, who Jazzy lived with and pasture with, and I've done some distant off body work with him, with Linda Morenix, clearing some energies on him that weren't serving him, that they were revealed to me during body work sessions. And Scout is one of the equine guides that I call in to help me work with other equines. So one of the things that he taught me, because he can go in and be very introverted, is he taught me that there are horses who have just kind of gone into shutdown and introvert mode, and Scout's not necessarily in shutdown mode, but he's in a place and Terry hasn't had him, I don't think, for more than 3.5 or 4 years. So he's 21. And so he had a big journey. But what he showed me was that, and other horses are showing me too, is there's this place of compassion, resonance, understanding, and then can you please step in? So Scout is one of those horses, when you walk up to him and you want to pet his face, he'll turn away. And he'll turn away. And you can do the Warwick thing with him and he'll turn away. And so Terry and I had a discussion one day where I'm like, that's not okay anymore. He would do this for the rest of his life. So if you want him to show up more in this relationship, then ask him to step in more. And so there's controversy around that perspective. Like if the horse just wants to turn away, then there's something wrong with the human and all of this. But there are times when we as humans, due to our trauma, due to our belief systems, emotional dysregulation, whatever it is. I mean, there's people that lock themselves in their house and they don't come out. There's people that go and live in a forest and because they just can't handle it. And so I am finding in my work that there is a place that it's that neutral place. And there's like a frequency there where it's an energetic conversation that I'm having with the horses, where it's like, I see you, I feel you, I get you. I'm a recovering, I have experienced extreme trauma in my life and am on the other side of that. Are the triggers still there? Do I still get triggered? Absolutely. But I know what they are, right? And so being in that place of neutrality and witnessing that in the horse and being able to hold space for that and then say, but can you step over here a little bit and let me show you? And Terry even showed me this because Jazzy was angry and she was posturing to bite and kick when Terry got her. And that was still going on when I was invited 6 months later to lease her. And so it was saying, well, that's not okay. And let me show you a different way. So even with Scout, it's kind of like, hey, let me show you that a pet on the head and a hug is really not that bad. And so I think there's a place if we pity the horses and we can enable them the same way that we can enable human beings. And so there's just this dance. It's an energetic dance of saying, I see you, I feel you, I get you. And can you step in a little bit more? And I witnessed that with the horses this weekend a bit. And does that make sense?
Yeah, because that's your intention. So intention, you're allowing, you're seeing the visual, the feel, and you're acknowledging without trying to do anything. But then your intention is, but if you allow me, I can show you another way.
Yes.
And then that's their choice if they step forward or they remain in that place because they're not quite ready for whatever reason. But yeah, it's your intention.
It's the intention and not like if they just say, no, I'm not going there. I might try a little bit, a few things. And if they just absolutely say no, like I had a horse this weekend that said, you are absolutely not putting your hands in my mouth. And I really like the melding point in the upper jaw, the DB26. So sim sessions. Do you want me to? Okay.
Yes. Can you explain what a sim session is? And yeah.
So I am not the creator of sim sessions, and sim is an acronym, SIM, and it's an acronym for symbiotic integrated mirroring. And Jamie Watkins, who is in Central California, and Miranda Reddick, who of Revised Equestrian, she's down in Morro Bay. Miranda's one of Tom's very first students and teaches some refresher classes down there for him. They created this modality, and you can find them at simsessions.org. And they also have a Facebook page, and symbiotic is spelled with a Y, sim, S-Y. BIOTIC, integrated mirroring. So they created this modality when Miranda realized that she would treat a horse. And let me tell you, this woman is an amazing practitioner, and she works on, performance horses. And she'd been doing it for almost 2 decades. And so she would have a horse continue to come back in after she had cleared it. And a month later, it would have all the same stuff. And then it'd come back and it'd have all the same stuff. And, Tom talks about this too. And so there's the mirroring, like what's going on, that we're clearing these horses. We're clearing the congestion in the organs. So osteo is where we're moving the blood, and we're moving the nerves, and we're just creating balance back in the whole system of the horse when we're using these modalities. We're grabbing the fascia, everything. And so when you're in this detailed session with this horse and you feel like you've sent it away, cleared, and it comes back, we look at what's going on. So from Tom's standpoint, the lung holds grief, the liver holds anger, the spleen holds worry. And we talk about the whole portal system. So yes, if the horses are not eating feed that's conducive to a healthy portal system, namely they're eating glyphosate and things that are toxic for their systems, then their organs and their bloodstream and everything is going to get messed up there. But the horses can also carry emotions. Maybe they have their own belief systems, and Tom talks about this, their own emotional stuff that they're carrying, or they're carrying it for the human. So what Miranda and Jamie came up with, and Jamie is a certified IET cranial sacral practitioner for the horses, but she's also a master's in acupuncture and has been performing cranial sacral on humans for 25 years. So Jamie, I think, said to Miranda, what would it be like if we put the human on the table and you were on the horse, and we brought them into the same energetic field, and we asked the horse to tap into the human? So they did it, and they were both blown away. So they have a couple barns that they work on there. And then Jamie's come up here, and we've done some sessions. I think we're planning another day session up here on June 28th. So essentially what transpires in this session is that the human is on the table, and I start with the horse. I pick up the cranial sacral rhythm of the horse. I'll go into the heart, feel what's going on with the heart. I pick up the rhythm of the horse, and I tap into the horse. I meld and I connect with the horse. And then Jamie comes on to the human, and I might already be sensing the horse's cranial sacral rhythm. And as soon as Jamie comes on to the human, typically the horse's rhythm will shift. If the human is off, it'll stop, or it'll start going faster. A human's cranial sacral rhythm goes faster than a horse's. And then I'll know that the horse is tapped in. So I'll give you an example of one session we did a couple months ago, just for reference point. The human was on the table. I was working on the horse. Things early on, the horse revealed an energy cyst in the lung, and it told me it was grief. I'm on the horse, Jamie's on the human. I called out, to the human, could you potentially be holding some grief in your lung? The human just released. And I'm not going to, for privacy's sake, I'm not going to go into the depth of the release, but there was the mirror right there. And it opened a portal, a blockage in the human, to where the release continued for that human all day long. And so that's magical. And she would like another session. So this is the type of stuff that went on. We did a double session that day and worked on another horse and human in the same barn. And the other horse called out some intestinal stuff that was transpiring for the human. I went into a meditation and connected with that horse the night before, and the horse talked to me. The human confirmed before the session that, yes, that was in fact going on for him. So the horses, as you know, Ronnie, they'll just come in and talk to you if we're willing to tap in. So in the sim session, it's quite similar to what I was talking about transpired over the weekend, where the horses were communicating with their human sitting in a chair. But the added beautiful benefit of the sim session, because I was verbally coaching the person sitting in the chair through the horse communicating with me, but the added part of the sim session is you've got skilled hands, and Jamie's incredibly intuitive on the human. So I'm moving, and Jamie might say, you know, I'm trying to get blood down to the sacrum, and I can't get it. Can you go to the horse and free up the blood in the horse, and then the blood will flow down more freely into the human. It's just wild. So that's what symbiotic integrated mirroring is. They've been out with Kim Perry Elkins. She works at a couple of barns out in Texas, and they've gone out and done it out there. We're scheduling down in San Diego. We're scheduling in Woodside. It's pretty cool stuff. And the horses confirmed to me this weekend in the way that they were communicating with me, especially yesterday, and walking me through what their owners needed to do to connect. They confirmed that sim sessions are just an amazing modality. So
it sounds right up my street, girl. right up my street. Yeah. And it doesn't surprise me with the results, because that's what they want. They want us to, they don't want us to carry shit around. They don't want us to, it's not experience life and having things happen. Things will happen every day. Things will always happen. But it's how we deal with it. Do we decide to keep it? Do we replay that video over and over and over again until we're so tired? Or do we just go, fuck, that was really annoying. Excuse my language. Sorry.
Right.
You know, and get angry and just get it off your chest, and then, okay, that's it. That's done. That's that bit done. And if you see an animal, horses particularly, in a field, and they, as humans, we want to make sure that we don't have huge vet bills. So we like to keep them safe. And they can be teeth gnarling. They can be really showing signs of aggression. And then the next thing, they're eating next to each other. They've sorted something out. But again, they could do that a bit later. But so I'm not talking about extremes, but they a well-grounded, balanced nervous system horse will just erupt and then come down. And a horse cannot, once they start to go up and their energy is in full pelt, they have to release it. There's no, like with a human, you know, a stiff upper lip, just keep that inside, just deal with it later. No, they have to. That's how they work. And that's the biggest gift they show us, is that they let that go, then they can come down. Now, sometimes there's other things, physical, but again, that goes back to us, their environment. So it's not like we're to blame for everything, but if we recognize that we have a responsibility to our own nervous system, our own psyche, our own energy, once we start to see that for what it is. So you're not going to deal with it all in one go, but you can just acknowledge it. You don't have to know what to do with it. You just acknowledge it, and that can be enough to, okay, you've acknowledged that. Now we can sort something out. And it's a communication all the time. The horses have shown you in fluctuations, and it's just a continual communication. You're not going to get it right all the time. It's never ever going to be all sorted, because stuff comes up all the time. Every day it's like an onion, it's like layers. You just deal with what's presented with you at that moment, but go back to your energy. Where am I? What's going on with me? before I forget, I'm just trying to think which bit you was talking. It was as you was talking about the sim and your last group session. So your left side, as I'm looking at you, your right side, but it's down this side. What I was being guided to say to you is some of the energy that you was working with has it's flowing through there, but it's a little bit slow flushing through you. So does that make sense? So it's your, as I'm looking at you, it's your right, but it's my left side.
So the energy's flowing up my right. Is it getting stuck going down the left?
No, so as it's flowing up, what was, because you were talking about the session that you had, the last, and while you were working, okay, is it the horse or is it the human? Is this Monica? So the energy that flowed from the human to the horse is going through you, but it's a little bit slow going through. So what are you telling me? So you just need to just go into your own feel and watch that regulate. It goes like that. So you're watching both sides. So if I close my eyes and I see you, it's like that's flowing. And what I'm asking is for them to sync. So okay, thank you. Like, you know, like when you ask Tom, when we was in Tom's session and you're asking for that rhythm, and if it's getting stuck one end, you're asking for it to flow. You're not pushing it, you're asking it to draw it through. So that's what they're asking. If you get that, so your both sides of your hemisphere are flowing at the same rate. So they're getting into sync because one side's a little bit. Does that make sense?
A little bit. I mean, I can, yeah, I'll have to feel, I'll need to sit with that and ask my guides to come in and show me. But it sounds like you're saying that it's not, is it something for me, or is it when I'm working with the human and the horse that it got?
No, it's just residue from this session from the weekend that it's
I'm holding.
It's flowing through, but it just needs acknowledging, felt, and then it can flush through. There's a little bit there.
That makes sense. And you know what's very interesting is so it was 100 degrees here. Luckily, I was in the shade, and two of the practitioners were out in the sun. So they were very long days. And when I got home on Saturday, yesterday was the last day, Sunday. When I got home on Saturday, I was absolutely wiped out. I mean, wiped out, and I was hungry. And so my partner and he and I went and had a salad and a little bit of shrimp. And then I looked at him and I said, I have taken on so much energy that's not mine. I'm wiped out. It's 6:30. I said, I must get on my bike and go ride. So we have pedal assist, but it's not that assisting. You have to still pedal. And well, his is pretty assisting, but I went and rode my bike after that long day for 12 miles up. And then I, coasted down with my hands off I love to ride with my hands off the handlebars. And I just coast up here in the Sierra foothills. But it took me 6 miles before I finally went, it's off me. Like what I take on energies. I don't know if anyone listening knows about human design platforms, but I learned how to read human design. I'm a projector, and I have an open emotional center, which means I take on emotions from people, places, and things. I have an open sacral. I take a lot on, and I have to be really mindful. So I absorbed stuff. I also am very grounded in my root chakra. Like I'm super earth grounded. And that helps with having those other centers open. But I took on a lot. And so what I'm hearing you say is you're still seeing in my field that I've still got some in there, and I need to.
It's just a little bit slow. Okay. So it is going through, but it's just it's not quite balanced.
Feel it. It's right here.
Yeah.
It's right.
Yeah. And so it's not a huge amount. It's moving. It's just not moving it as it's not symmetrical. That's what they're
Okay.
saying. It's not
Yeah.
symmetrical. Right.
Me-
Okay. So I'm just going to see if anybody else want to ask any questions. I think we're going to wrap this up shortly, unless you've got. Let's have a look. So if anybody else wants to ask any questions, then please feel free to do so. What was you going to say, Monica? Sorry.
I was just,
Is there anything you want to? Oh, sorry. You want to say?
No, this was just fun. It was a very relaxed, candid conversation. It was very fun. And I was just thinking about the last piece that you were talking about before we talked about my hemispheres. I was thinking about authenticity with our horses, like being authentic. And that is one of the things that I talk to. And that came up for me when you were saying that last piece. That comes up in a lot of sessions where we can be having a human experience. We can have a spat with our child or our partner, or somebody might upset us in traffic. And our nervous system may be dysregulated when we come to our horses. And sometimes that is my case. I have a hard time in traffic. And we have 2 dogs that are just like under a year. And so it can be very hectic in our small house. And I will go to my horse and I will say, Jazz, I am a little dysregulated right now, sweetheart. It has nothing to do with you. You don't need to take it on. And I'm going to work on letting it out. I know my feet are hooked to the earth and I'm not going to project it onto you. But if you're reading my energetic field right now, which I know she is, I'm just authentic with her, right? I'm authentic with her. And the other thing that came up for me when you were talking, just, before we did the other thing, was how many times I can feel tense on my horse's back. Not really anymore, but when I have an agenda that it's going to happen a certain way, how often as human beings do we push through our own contraction? This is what you were talking about, right? Like horses, they go up, 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 and they have to let it go. Mm-hmm. People go, and before we know it, at the end of the day, we're stressed, it's stuffed, we're contracted. Like, what if we could? And, I learned about this. I used to do equine facilitated learning sessions with people who were in recovery, with the recovery groups would come out and we'd do these sessions when I lived in Arizona for a couple of years during COVID. And what if, as human beings, we could operate more like the horse, where we could let it go? But at the very least, when we're with our horse and we feel that contraction, whether it's on the ground or in the saddle, if we could literally let go of our agenda. A lot of us work within a tight time frame because we're out at the barn and we work, or however it goes, and we only have this amount of time to spend with our horse, and we have this plan, therefore it must come off as orchestrated. How lovely would it be if we could be paused in that moment and just completely exhale like the horse does when we're on their back or when we're sitting next to them? Because horses have to do that to survive. If they carry that tension around, they burn up their energy and they don't have the energy that they need, that's innately part of being a prey animal, which is I have to maintain my energy in order to be able to flee if I need to. So what if as humans we could do that? That's, yeah.
I think we're getting better, but it's hard to break the program that's been there for it's easier when you're on your own, but I think for people, if they're somewhere where there's lots of people, lots of other horses, and but there's always a way that it's not about being perfect. It's just about saying, yeah, I feel shit today, I'm in a bad mood, but it's nothing to do with you. And you can say it under your breath, you can say it in your mind, you don't have to and I'm quite I love cuddling. I'm a very tactile person. Like I don't have a problem cuddling a stranger, hugging a stranger. If they look, I don't know, I just do not have that. I've always been like that. And so when I go to my horse, I like to give her I love to smell her neck, and she's not always like that. And I'll go, I'm sorry, I know, I forgot to ask you. And I'll walk off and I'll go, can I just give you a hug too? So and then she'll go, okay, 2 seconds, and then you're out.
That sounds like jazz.
And it's so funny, but yeah, it's not about being perfect. It's just acknowledging how you feel and just listening to you feel. And it's the real quiet, subtle. It's so subtle that people miss it and they think, well, it wasn't that. And the communication is sometimes nothing. It's not words. It's not fear. It's just that calm.
Yeah.
And that is a pure part of communication. There's no words. There's no rush. It's just bliss. And it's lovely. But Sam, I'm just going to pop this on. So this is Sam. This is Sam's home I'm in tonight. So she's my dear friend. And I said to you, she does Masters and Method. She's a Masters and Method practitioner, but she's also She coaches where we used to live. They used to come and do the weekends at her place. So I'm familiar with that side as well. So yeah, she's an amazing horsewoman, very unassuming. She won't like me saying that, but she is. She's a dear friend.
Thank you, Sam, for being here.
So thank you so much, Monica, for coming on. And I'm so pleased that you're my first guest of this year.
I love it.
And I never know what's going to happen. And I don't know who's going to listen to this. But I do know when it goes out in audio, it goes all over the world. So it goes, all over. And that's when I get sort of feedback and stuff. But this will always be on YouTube. So it's something that was always out there. So you can go back and have a look. I never edited the video, but I do, if needed, edit the audio. And it's just if there's any glitches and stuff. But before you go, is there anything you'd like to say? Quick word of encouragement.
Encouragement is to be authentically you. Have compassion for yourself, your horse, and the journey that you're on to take together. And in every breath, there is the ability to find that.
That's beautiful. I'm just being told that there are, I'm using the word stories. There are stories that you could relay to people that would help them and that they would understand a little bit more, but not for this session because we're going to call this a day. But if you'd like to come back another time, because it's to do with how the horses have helped you heal parts of you. And I know that's ongoing, but also I'm being told on a more wider platform. So people that are around you, and people that might not necessarily approach you, they're feeling this on another level. That sounds very hairy-fairy, but that's all I'm being told to say. So would you like to come back another time?
I would like to come back another time. Yeah, absolutely. I have fun with this kind of stuff. I love
And maybe we could have somebody that's actually had a sim session to come on board if they're happy to, because again, it's always great to hear a client's perspective, how it helped them, because we can see things slightly different and they might have another version, positive version.
Absolutely. And Jamie would love to travel to the UK to bring Sims over there. That is her deal, is that she would like to travel, and she eventually wants to educate and certify practitioners who are in the know to be able to perform this in other geographic regions. So Ronnie, I'm just super grateful for you asking me. Do we get to chat afterwards? Do we get to stay?
Yeah. I'm going to pop you out until you stay there, and then I'll just say bye to everybody. So just say bye to the viewers.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening, and hope something you heard helps.
Oh, she's amazing. She's so lovely. She's got such a big heart. And that's what came across when I met her. I loved my course and I loved everybody on it. They were so kind. The horses were brilliant. It was such a pleasure to meet Tom and Yolanda. because together they're a dynamic team. But individually, I was honoured to have a hands-on session with Yolanda. It was a little demo we did in class, and yeah, that was pretty powerful. It was, yeah. I would pay to go back just for a session. Anyway, thank you very much for the people that have called on by and your questions, Sam, as always. And there are links to the sim sessions. There are links on this live, so you should be able to pick up and find out a little bit more. If you have any questions afterwards, you can reach me on Equine Voices. On my email account, which should be on here as well, and also on the audio. You can ask questions on the audio as well when that goes out. Thank you so much. Take care, and I look forward to our next session, which hopefully won't be too long. Take care. Bye for now. Bye.